The forest was alive with the sounds of the night. Wind whispered through the towering pines, and the faint rustle of leaves mingled with the distant howl of wolves. The moon hung low in the sky, its pale light casting eerie shadows on the damp earth below. Amid this wilderness, a lone Mustang foal stood trembling, its large, frightened eyes darting toward the darkness where glowing orbs flickered, the unmistakable eyes of a wolf pack. The wolves crept closer, their low growls reverberating through the air. The baby Mustang, barely a few months old, let out a desperate whinny, its small legs shaking as it tried to retreat further into the dense thicket. But there was nowhere left to go. The predators had it cornered. Miles away, Jake Carter, a seasoned wildlife ranger, was finishing up his nightly patrol. His truck rattled along the narrow dirt road, headlights cutting through the thick mist that blanketed the forest floor. Jake had seen his share of the wild's cruelty, but something about tonight felt different. As he rounded a bend, a sharp, panicked cry pierced the night. It was unmistakable, the call of a young horse in distress. Jake's heart skipped a beat. He grabbed his flashlight and rifle, leaving the safety of his truck to venture into the unknown. The sound of distant howls sent a chill down his spine, urging him to move faster. "Hold on, little one," he muttered under his breath, pushing through the dense underbrush. The cries grew louder, more desperate, and were soon accompanied by the unmistakable growls of wolves. Jake finally reached a small clearing, his flashlight slicing through the shadows to reveal a heart-wrenching scene. A baby Mustang, its coat a sleek chestnut, was surrounded by a circle of wolves. Their sharp teeth glistened in the moonlight, and their bodies were coiled, ready to pounce. "Get back!" Jake roared, firing a warning shot into the air. The loud crack of the rifle echoed through the forest, momentarily startling the wolves. They hesitated, their yellow eyes now fixed on the man who had entered their hunting ground. The foal took the opportunity to stumble backward, its tiny body shaking with fear. Jake waved his flashlight, shouting and making himself appear larger. Most of the wolves retreated into the shadows, but the pack leader, a large, scarred wolf with piercing eyes, stood its ground, snarling. Jake aimed his rifle but hesitated. Killing a wolf was a last resort. He respected these creatures too much. Instead, he grabbed a flare from his pack, ignited it, and hurled it toward the wolf. The bright light and sudden burst of fire sent the alpha scrambling back into the darkness, joining its pack as they disappeared into the night. With the immediate danger gone, Jake approached the foal cautiously. It was a beautiful creature, its coat shimmering faintly under the moonlight, almost as if it had a glow of its own. As he knelt beside it, he noticed something unusual. Its eyes weren't like any he had seen before. Large, expressive, and filled with an intelligence that seemed far beyond its age. Jake shook off the thought, chalking it up to the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Hey there, little one," he whispered, his voice calm and soothing. The foal flinched but didn't run. Jake gently ran his hand along its neck, checking for injuries. Its legs were scratched and bruised, likely from running through the underbrush, but nothing seemed broken. "You're going to be okay," Jake assured it. He wrapped his jacket around the foal to keep it warm, his mind racing. Wild Mustangs were rare in this area, and finding a foal alone was even rarer. Where was its herd? Its mother? Jake decided to take the foal to his small cabin on the edge of the forest. Carrying the trembling creature in his arms, he made his way back to the truck. The drive was tense. Every shadow on the road seemed to carry the threat of the wolves returning. The foal lay quietly in the back seat, its breathing steady but shallow. When they arrived at the cabin, Jake carefully placed the foal on a bed of hay in his small barn. He lit a lantern, its warm glow filling the space, and began cleaning the foal's wounds. As he worked, he couldn't shake the feeling that something about this Mustang was different. Its shimmering coat seemed almost otherworldly under the lamplight, and it watched him with a calm, knowing gaze that made him uneasy. As the hours passed, the foal grew more comfortable, even nuzzling Jake's hand. Just as he began to relax, a faint noise outside the barn caught his attention. The sound of low growls sent a shiver down his spine. The wolves hadn't given up. Jake grabbed his rifle and stepped outside. The pack was back, their eyes glowing in the darkness just beyond the barn's perimeter. But they weren't advancing. Instead, they seemed hesitant, almost as if they were afraid. Jake glanced back at the barn, where the foal now stood at the doorway, its shimmering coat glowing faintly. The wolves whimpered and backed away, disappearing into the forest once more. Jake stood frozen, his mind racing. What had just happened? What was this foal? Over the next few days, Jake kept the foal safe, feeding it and watching over it. News of the strange Mustang began to spread, drawing the attention of curious locals and researchers. Some claimed it was a sign, others said it was a mutation, and a few whispered about legends of mystical horses that protected the forest. Jake, however, knew one thing for sure. This little Mustang wasn't ordinary. Whether it was nature's miracle or something beyond explanation, it had chosen to survive against impossible odds. And in doing so, it had changed him, too. As Jake watched the foal gallop freely in the safety of his pasture, he couldn't help but smile. Sometimes, he thought, the wild has a way of reminding us how little we truly understand. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of wonder and survival in the wild. Who knows what other mysteries the forest might hold?